Maybe I should unmute my mic. My mic was muted the whole time. I appreciate Dan, you boomer. My mic was shut off, guys. That was amazing. Not your phone, Jake. What's up, bro? My mic, we can't hear you. My mic was muted. I cannot do this by myself. I am horrible with technology. I went live and my mic was muted the whole time. That's good, because now I can catch my breath. All right, everybody. We got a nice amount of people here in the chat. I want to hear from you. We are live. We're good now. We're good now. There you go, bud. There you go. Mike is back on, and I had a good stream of consciousness going right there. Okay. The reason we are live right now, Chris Algieri's out to dinner. I texted him. I asked him to join. He said, I'm at the dinner. Leave me alone. So it's just Dan After Dark, Dan riding solo. The breaking news is there's a lot of breaking news right now. It's Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez. There's a $55 million offer out there from Al Heyman and PBC and Team Benavidez to Canelo Alvarez. That's one part of the breaking news. The other part of the breaking news is Gervonta Davis is set to fight Frank Martin late spring, early summer, according to Mike Coppinger of ESPN. That is a very fun fight at 135 pounds. Where should we start? What is going on? Chris says, Dan, you make boxing so easy to follow. That's the best compliment I can ever get because I love this sport and it's dizzying at times. Like the last 2 hours have been nuts trying to keep up with all the news, trying to make content, trying to go live, figuring out, do I do a TikTok? Do I do a tweet? Do I go live? Well, here we are. We're live. And I enjoy talking to all you guys. Let's start with what I think is the biggest news, and that is this whole Canelo Benavidez. Who is Canelo fighting May 4th? I wouldn't even say triangle because it has way more angles to this whole thing. The latest is David Benavidez plans to move up to 175 pounds and fight Alexander Vodzik, former 175-pound champion, for a spot at the mandatory WBC slot, which would set him up for a fight or set up the winner for a fight against the winner of Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. For years, we have heard about David Benavidez being a weight bully. He needs to move up to 175 pounds. He's waiting for Canelo, go up to 175. There's plenty of fights there for him. He is now taking this into his own hands, David Benavidez. That is something that he has been doing for the last couple of years when it comes to waiting for Canelo. I'm not going to wait for him. I'll go fight Caleb Plant. I'm not going to wait for Canelo. I'll go fight Demetrius Andrade and look good in doing so. So he's putting a lot of pressure on Canelo Alvarez and PBC by saying, listen, Canelo, you don't want to fight me? I'll go up to 175 and I'll go contend for a title there. I'll get an immediate shot, so he thinks, against Bivol or Beterbiev. He's got to get past Vodzik. He should be able to do that. Then we hear more news trickles out. Samson Lukowitz, who is the advisor of David Benavidez, that Al Heyman, PBC, have a $55 million offer on the table to fight David Benavidez next at 168. It can balloon up to 60 million more. Not 60 million more, but a balloon up to 60 million if they get another network involved, Canelo's Mexican network. That is crazy. That is a lot to unpack right now, and we're going to do that. If Canelo doesn't take this fight, he's a duck. Man, they're really – I kind of love what Team Benavidez is doing here. They're putting so much pressure on Canelo. He's setting up his next move. His next move is a great move. His next move is fighting for the mandatory WBC spot at 175 pounds. I don't know if Beterbiev and Bivol have a rematch clause. I know they have the one fight for June 1st. But Benavidez is not waiting around. Benavidez is like, I got a plan. All right. Here's 60 million, Canelo. Fight me next. Backed by Samson Lukowitz and PBC. Or I'll go up to 175 and I'll contend with some of the big dogs up there and continue to create my legacy. I love that. My man. What's up, Dan? Siempre Reyes. I'm not mad at Benavidez for that fight. No, you really can't get upset at Benavidez. He's trying everything he can possibly do to push this fight with Canelo. He's trying everything he can do. And lately, I've been reading a lot of comments from fans out there saying, well, Benavidez had every chance to fight Canelo. He lost his title on the scales. He lost his title due to a cocaine positive drug test. Okay, I get that. But we're still going to hold it to him? It happened 4 years ago. The guy has rehabilitated his image. He's got back in the win column. He's stayed in the win column. He's undefeated. He's had great wins over Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade. I think there's really nothing you can criticize Benavidez for at this moment. Guaranteed $55 million is insane. Can't imagine Canelo would turn that down unless he's scared. This is what Samkin Lukowitz is saying. The $55 million. Do I think it's real? Yeah, I do think it's real. I think PBC really wants to make the biggest fights possible. They have to make the biggest fights possible. They have to make big-time pay-per-view fights that are going to generate box office. Canelo Benavidez generates box office. Generates it, baby. I love all the comments that we got coming in. Keep them coming. We want to see a trilogy of Benavidez versus Andrade at 175. Are you up for it? No. Don't need to see that again. David putting himself in a great position. Yep, he 100% is. David is doing the damn thing. Is this Canelo number from May or September? I think it's next. Like, I think it's next. If you really pull up, the tweet from Samkin Lukowitz himself, I mean, a lot has happened over the last couple of hours. It's hard to keep track of everything. I hate to give the Michael Benson credit, but he usually is unreal at aggregating all this news. According to this tweet from Michael Benson, David Benavidez promoter Samkin Lukowitz has declared that Al Haymon's PBC have offered Canelo Alvarez guaranteed purse of $55 million to fight Benavidez next, who will be moving up to light heavyweight to fight Vodzik instead if he turns it down. They're putting the pressure on this man. They're putting the pressure on Canelo Alvarez, putting the pressure on PBC and Al Haymon. Al Haymon putting the pressure on Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, it came out yesterday. I mean, the news is happening so fast. It came out yesterday that PBC will not pay for a Jamal Charlo fight. They will pay for a Munguia fight. They will guarantee the $35 million purse to Canelo Alvarez to fight Jaime Munguia. Now they're upping this purse to potentially $60 million to fight Benavidez. Dan, do you really believe that $55 million offer? I'm skeptical. I don't blame you for being skeptical. It is a very big number. You got to figure it could do more business. You got to figure Benavidez is not a huge draw when it comes to pay-per-view success. He is definitely a big name amongst boxing fans. I think it will be a great Mexican versus Mexican-American clash. Do I think it will do huge pay-per-view numbers? I think it will do pretty good. I think it'll do a really good gate. Do I think PBC will make money on it? Yes. I mean, Al Haymon knows what he's doing when it comes to offering money for these fights. I feel like nobody's talking about how Samson has lied about Benavidez fighting Morrell. Morrell has been ignored a lot recently. Well, listen, man, this is just going to happen. Like, David Morrell's time will come. Right now, it's Benavidez's time. Right now, it's Canelo versus Benavidez. I don't understand how there's some fans out there that don't want to see this fight next. I don't understand the finger pointing. I understand it's a big part of boxing. I don't get how you don't want to see Canelo versus Benavidez next. People making all these crazy things about, oh, Benavidez got to go out there and beat Morrell now. He don't deserve Canelo. Or Canelo can do whatever he wants. Yes, Canelo can do whatever he wants. I understand that. But it doesn't mean that he should not fight his mandatory. It doesn't mean that he should not be defending his belts. It doesn't mean that he should not be taking the biggest tests. When you're the face of boxing, a lot of responsibilities come with it. Like, Canelo can fight Munguia. He can fight Charlo. He can fight a ton of guys out there until he retires in 3 or 4 years. But part of me thinks that he will fight Benavidez. It's just a matter of when. I hope we get it. I just don't understand the fans out there that don't want to see it, that are trying to justify a lot of the things that are going on. Jake Gould, great follow on Twitter, very rational boxing fan. Is $55 million offer legit? I can see it as Samson posturing to add to Benavidez's boogeyman narrative. Always got to keep that in mind in boxing. These promoters, these managers are slippery. They are slick. They know what they're doing. They know how to manipulate the media. They know how to get the narrative out there. And Samkin Lukowitz is a guy that found Manny Pacquiao. He's been around the block. He understands the game, and I would not be shocked if this $55 million offer isn't legit. But he's putting Al Haymon's name on it. He's not just saying, "Hey, I have a $55 million." He's saying, Al Heyman and PBC, who are David's promoter or manager, have this deal. So not only are they putting this number out there, they're attaching PBC and Al Heyman to it, which, talk to any fighter out there. They don't want to cross Al Heyman. They are very loyal to Al Heyman. So I'm interested. That makes me a little less skeptical. 2024 looking real promising. Yes, 2020, things picked up. The first couple of months, we're in February, right? We're almost in March. First 6 weeks, 7 weeks of this year haven't been great. There have been some decent fights here and there, nothing huge. But we got Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, April 20th. April's loaded with fights all up and down the board. Jack Taylor versus Catterall. We got Ngannou versus Joshua. If that interests you, May 18th. We got Fury versus Usyk. We got Benavidez versus Bivol, June 1st. We got Tank versus Frank, which I'll talk about in just a little bit, which seems like it's going to be sometime in June. A lot of fights, man. Dizzying amount of fights. I have to write them all down. Loma versus Cambosos, if you're into that. Gray Johnson. Anyone who thinks the Nail is an interesting opponent for David is stuck in 2018. Yeah, Vodcek is not going to win that fight. I see knockout under 6 for Benavidez in that fight. The only thing that makes it intriguing is that Benavidez hopping up to 175 and putting the pressure on WBC, or excuse me, putting the pressure on Bivol and Beterbiev and that whole situation. He'll beat Vodcek pretty easily. Maybe that could be the co-main to Tank versus Frank. May 4th, right? Yeah, May 4th. I believe this offer, whether you believe it's legitimate or not, this $55 million offer that's floating around out there for Canelo versus Benavidez, I believe it's for May 4th. I believe that's what they want next. There's so much happening behind the scenes right now. It's very intriguing. It's very interesting. It's the part of being a boxing fan that we have grown to love, is the backroom deals. Like Canelo right now is this everything from he's fighting Munguia on DAZN to he's fighting Munguia on pay-per-view, on Amazon Prime, to he's leaving PBC, to now he may be taking this deal with Benavidez. Maybe he's going to fight Charlo. So much swirling around, all behind the scenes, and we're left to make sense of it all. I love that. Man, a lot of comments. Let's get to all of them. Now we need Boots fight. Boots is looking for a new promoter. I'm interested to see, is he going to stay with kind of his deal he's got with PBC? He's going to go to Matchroom. I think every promoter in boxing is going to make a run at Boots Ennis. But I don't have time to think about Boots Ennis at this moment. Canelo versus Benavidez, Cinco de Mayo weekend would be big. It would be huge. It would be great. You guys been drinking these? Olipop. It's basically like a healthy soda. It's prebiotics. It's got plant fiber. I'm addicted to them. I don't know if they're actually good for you, but I feel good drinking them. Build up well. Yes, it will. Benavidez deserves Canelo. Why the hell should he fight down? I agree. Couldn't agree more. Canelo fans are the worst in boxing. All the excuses in the world. It's annoying. I have been dealing with a lot of Canelo fans out there because me and Chris Algieri, who do an Inside Boxing Live podcast every single week, go check it out right here on this very page. I asked Chris a simple question. Why isn't Canelo fighting David Benavidez? And Chris had a pretty good answer. Like, come on, it makes the most sense in the world. The WBC should be ashamed because they haven't made him as mandatory. He's been in that position for so long. It's a huge commercial success. Even if Canelo loses, he'll get the respect of fight fans. And the amount of replies that we got calling us Canelo haters, Canelo could do whatever he wants. What does he need to listen to you, white boys? Like everything under the sun. Like, dude, I'm not calling Canelo a hater. I just want to see the fight. Like, why wouldn't you not want to see that? Like, you're fine. Yeah, Canelo can do whatever he wants. So that means you're okay with him fighting lesser opponents? I just don't understand that line of thinking. It's the guys that want Canelo in a bubble wrap that think that way. Yeah. Sometimes. I'd rather see Munguia versus Berlanga than Jaime fight Canelo. Yes. Yes. Munguia is going for the Canelo fight, and I don't blame him. I feel like Oscar and Golden Boy they've been building this guy up to eventually fight Canelo, and it potentially could happen May 4th. Munguia Canelo is very much in play. But if that breaks down, and that fight breaks down, and Canelo fights someone else in May, and Berlanga wins this weekend over on DAZN. Munguia Berlanga is a great fight for 168. Mexican versus Puerto Rico. It's on DAZN, easily made. I hope that happens. Morrell's nice, but he's only 10-0. No one with a name wants to risk it. Yeah, it's the old thing in boxing. Like, the risk reward is not there for Morrell. He is hardcore. The hardest of hardcore boxing fans know who David Morrell is. Outside of that, no one does. He's really good, but he really brings nothing to the table financially. If Benavidez fights Morrell, he's like, I don't think that's a good business move. I don't think his team even wants to do that because they're obviously going to 175. What do we got here? I see a lot of fans talking shit about Benavidez going up to fight. How can you talk shit about Benavidez going up to 175? He's trying everything he possibly can to get the Canelo fight. If that plan fails, he's going to go up to 175, a weight he should have been at years ago. He's going to fight whoever they put in front of him there, who the WBC deems as the number one contender, which is Alexander Vodzik, who is years past his prime. He wins that fight. He puts himself in line to fight Bivol or Beterbiev. You're, as a fan, you're not excited about that? Like, why are you mad? Why are you mad at Benavidez for this move? Answer me that. Answer me that. Live stream on a Thursday night? I'm all for it. Yeah, bro. This is how we roll. No Algieri. Algieri's at the dinner. He gives us, everyone, his kindest regards. We will have a podcast Sunday night. We're going to record one. It will be out Monday morning. It will give us a few more days to make sense of everything. Right now, I'm feeling like everything is raw. Everything is in the right now. So I'm doing this live stream now. But on Monday, we'll have our collected thoughts, me and Chris together. So check out that podcast. Nobody want to see Canelo like that anymore. I don't speak for yourself, Robert. I want to see Canelo fight Benavidez. Canelo is still on top of his game. Canelo is getting older. Don't want to see him fight Benavidez when he's past his best days. Remember, why? You're not taking the punches, bro. Canelo is older, yeah, but he's not done. Like, that's the funny thing about this fight is, like, I still think Canelo can win. Like, I will still pick Canelo to beat Benavidez. Like, it's getting closer and closer. Yeah, of course. But Canelo is still got it, man. I saw a lot of energy from him in that fight week against Charlo. Obviously, Charlo put up zero resistance, so it was kind of hard to grade Canelo, but he's healthy. He seems re-energized. You know, he during the fight week, he seemed happy. That means something to me. And I don't think Canelo's done. Like, Benavidez is good, but, you know, he has holes too. I don't think it's like a complete washout for Benavidez. Like, I think it might be a way closer fight than people are given thinking about this fight. Why doesn't Benavidez fight Morrell? He says Canelo is avoiding him, but Morrell has been calling out Benavidez. Bit hypocritical. Yeah, every fighter's hypocritical. Every situation you could be like, why doesn't he fight him? What about this? What about isms all day long? Why would Benavidez, I feel like, is ahead of Morrell. Like, I would love to see that fight. And when it was announced for like 48 hours last year, I was like shocked that Benavidez would go for Morrell. I don't understand. Like, Benavidez doesn't need to fight Morrell. Benavidez has to fight Canelo. There's no going backwards. He's at the spot. He's more than deserves it. He's more than deserves it by merit. He deserves it by legalities with the WBC and their mandatory position that Suleiman is finally going to give Canelo a mandatory. Like, why would you fight Morrell? Like, you're at the precipice of the biggest fight you can make in the sport. If the off chance Canelo and Benavidez actually fight, how do you see that fight playing out? I just said I think Canelo wins. I think Canelo wins a decision. Could be wrong. Not ready to pick against him. No such thing as healthy soda. What am I doing then? I'm drinking bad soda. I'm upset Frank didn't fight Shakur. We're gonna get to that in a second. Let's keep on going with this Canelo news. For real, Canelo fanboys get offended when Benavidez is brought up, but why wouldn't you want to see 1 versus 2? See, that maybe that's just me. Like, I'm a fan of the sport. I'm a fan of the sport of boxing. I want to see the biggest fights being made every year because it helps the sport to grow and everything to keep on moving. So I don't root for fighters. So I'm not a fan in that sense of the word. So I can't put myself in the shoes of a Canelo fan or a Benavidez fan. But it still doesn't make sense to me how, if you are a Canelo fan, why wouldn't you want to see him take on the very best? If Canelo goes in the ring and beats Benavidez, that's going to be an unbelievable moment for your guy. Takes a beating, it's going to be sad. But like Chris said on the podcast, and Chavez took a beating from De La Hoya. Like, it's not going to tarnish his reputation. It's not going to tarnish his legacy. At least it shouldn't. Depends on how bad he would get beat. Canelo moving funny. I can't believe it. Well, he is kind of moving funny, Canelo. Like, he hasn't flat out said I won't fight Benavidez. He never mentions him. There's never any rumors of him fighting him. There was that one thing where he said, I'm only going to fight an American. I understand Benavidez is Mexican-American. Like, I think if Canelo wanted to fight Benavidez, he would have just outright said it. Or we would have had, rumors about it. I cannot believe some of the comments on YouTube. How do you not want to see Canelo Benavidez? Thank you, sir. Jake, is Benavidez better or worse at 175? On one hand, less strained. On the other, less imposing versus opposition. I think he'll be a lot healthier in terms of making the weight. I think his power will translate. I think his speed will translate. Him versus Benavidez versus Beterbiev. Good God, that is such a fun fight. Even Benavidez versus Bivol. Just stylistically, is an awesome fight. But that's the thing about 175. It's Benavidez at 175. It's Bivol, it's Beterbiev, and then the rest of the talent, it falls off a cliff. It is literally too deep. That's why Vodzik is. I don't know how he's in the position that he's in. That just shows you how bad 175 is. Anthony Yard, we already seen him lose to Beterbiev, but he's a name. Buatsi is not at the top in my opinion. Damn, Sergey Kovalev, I think, is still fighting at 175 or maybe even higher. Agree with you on Canelo. Should have been more clear. I want that fight now before he gets too old. Yep, agree. Benavidez is smart to continue his career. He will be next for the winner of Beterbiev Bivol. I think he loses to both. Hard to say. I got to see how Beterbiev looks and Bivol look. Those guys. I got to let them fight first before I think about Benavidez. If Benavidez were to fight Bivol or Beterbiev, who do you got? Benavidez is so damn good offensively. I would like to see if he can get through to Bivol. When it comes to Beterbiev, I think Benavidez has the output and the power to give him issues. I think he's more likely to beat Beterbiev. I think Bivol could give Benavidez issues because of his defense and his movement. But that's what's going on with Canelo. The latest. We got to have an answer soon. That's the thing. We are in, what's today? February 22nd. So you got to figure we're going to see Canelo's opponent sooner or later. It's either going to be Benavidez, it's either going to be Munguia, or it's going to be Charlo. I think Canelo and Crawford is out of the picture. We're going to find out soon. This $55 million offer out there that's out there, it's intriguing. Is it real? We'll find out in a few days because everything was going to have to come out soon. Benavidez is doing the wrong move going to 175 if the fight with Canelo happens. No, he's only going up to 175 if the Canelo fight doesn't happen. That's the only time he's doing it. They're not gonna offer him Canelo and then Benavidez will say, oh no, I'm going up to 175. No, he's going to 175 if the Canelo fight doesn't come. He can still go back down to 168. I think that will be tough. In September, if he wants to get the Canelo fight, rehydration clauses. Yeah, I see that. Let's get over to the other news. The other news that just broke today, and when I say today, I mean the last 2 hours, is Gervonta Davis is back in the ring taking on Frank Martin. This is for Gervonta Davis's WBA lightweight title. It is being reported by ESPN's Mike Coppinger that the fight will be going down late spring, early summer. So to me, that means sometime in June. It is a PBC pay-per-view, most likely on Amazon Prime. For Gervonta Davis, it's his first fight back since knocking out Ryan Garcia last April. Always great when Gervonta Davis is back in the ring. He is box office. He is excitement. He is the man right now when it comes to American boxing. Excited that he's back, finally. On the other side, Frank Martin. I owe you an apology. I think a lot of boxing fans owe you an apology. Frank Martin was famously in a purse bid with Shakur Stevenson. They were supposed to fight in November. Seems like they agreed to a deal. At the last second, Frank Martin pulls his name out of the running to fight Shakur Stevenson. It was later revealed money was an issue. Turned down what would have been a career high payday, biggest fight of his life, chance to fight Shakur's or the vacant WBC title. He's called the Duck. He's called this, that, and the other bad business. I think I might have even said the same thing. But at the time, go back and read some of my tweets. I'll pull them up. I said, I reserve the right to change my mind. This is not a duck if Frank Martin fights Gervonta Davis next. And you got to think PBC, you got to think Al Heyman, and you got to think Team Frank Martin knew that Gervonta Davis fight was most likely next for him. So, yeah, he didn't fight Shakur Stevenson, a fight he probably would have lost. Would have been maybe a bad fight. Because he knew he was getting the Gervonta Davis fight. And you got to think that he's getting more to fight Tank than he is to fight Shakur. You got to think that. Or then what are we doing here? Because what's an easier fight to win? It's a tough question. So Frank Martin, owe you an apology, but I also said, let's hold judgment here. Let's hold some judgment here until we see the full picture. Tank versus Frank is the best fight for Tank besides Shakur at 135. Agree. I like this fight a lot. Frank Martin is tactical. He's a southpaw. He's got power. He's coming into his own. He's 28, but, he got a late start. Like this fight. Tank is Tank. He's the most economical, powerful fighter in boxing today. Gervonta Davis throws the least amount of punches of any active champion, but has the third highest knockout rate in boxing. That's the coolest stat I think. Will we ever see Davis in a fight where he is the underdog? That's no. Shakur, I think Davis would be the favorite. And this is really giving credit to how good Tank Davis is. Yeah, he's really good. So maybe Haney. No, I think he'd be the favorite against Haney. I think he'd be the favorite against Tank. I think he'd be the favorite against Shakur. I think he'd be the favorite against Tiafimo. He's just good. That's more of a compliment to Tank Davis. Can you please tell me who the heck is Benavidez to make any offers? We're not talking about Benavidez anymore. He could have fought Shakur, and if he looked good, he would have still gotten the Tank fight. No, he wouldn't have. No, bro. Come on, man. You know how boxing works. If Shakur got in there with Frank Martin, and it was a fight just like the De Los Santos fight, or similar type of fight, and Frank Martin lands 50 punches, and he loses 10-2 decision, it would have took so much of the luster off of a fight with Tank Davis. Right there, that what you just said in theory sounds awesome, and I wish boxing was like that. But we all know that it would not have been like that. It's a bigger fight right now. He was an underdog against Pedraza. Yeah, that was 2017. That was 7 years ago. Is it true Pedraza fought him? Crazy. Yeah, it's very true. You can go on BoxRec and see it. You can go type it in YouTube. Pedraza fought Tank Davis in 2017. This is when Pedraza was really good. I think it's one of Tank's best wins. What do we got here? I was starting to worry Tank was fighting Manny. Yeah, Tank was rumored to fight Manny Pacquiao. He was rumored to fight Conor Benn. There was Jose Valenzuela. There was Gary Antoine Russell. This is a fun one. This is a good fight. This is a legit test for Gervonta. Frank Martin is a good fighter. It's a fun fight. I think Gervonta will win, but I think he'll be pushed. Is Tank staying at 135, or will he test 140 with his rehydration clause? Maybe he'll go to 140. Maybe for Haney, maybe he'll go up to 140 to fight Teofimo. If Haney beats Ryan Garcia, which he should, right? Then it makes a Tank versus Haney fight even bigger. They'll start. I mean, that fight will come into focus even more. I think Shakur set himself back with that performance against De Los Santos. For a while, I thought Tank versus Shakur was the clear next mega fight in boxing. It still could be, but Shakur set himself back. He needs to have like maybe two performances that look great, and then get himself back into that, get the stink off of him. He also was fighting on his last fight on Top Rank deal, so he could sign with PBC. Who do you think would be Tank's biggest threat today? Probably Devin Haney. Devin Haney with his jab and his movement, and mostly his jab and his defense. I would say Teofimo, but think about it. Teofimo looks great when he's fighting someone that's coming forward, throwing a lot of punches. Gervonta Davis comes forward, but he does not throw a lot of punches. Gervonta versus Teofimo might not look like really not look that good of a fight. I think Devin Haney, especially if we'll see how he looks against Ryan Garcia. When Pedraza fought him like a caveman, Mexicans have no game plan. I haven't watched that fight in a while. Tank will never fight Haney. I don't know about that. I think Tank is going to get into the second portion of his career now. He's 28. He's going to find himself in big fights. I think he can beat any of them, and I think he will take on the biggest challenges. It's just inevitable. It's just running out of time. It's what you do with careers. You're eventually going to have to put him in there with some of these names. He's not going to go his entire career without fighting a Teofimo or a Haney or Shakur. I just don't think it's going to happen. What do you think Kambosos versus Loma will look like? I haven't really thought too much about it, but Lomachenko should win like 10 rounds, 11 rounds. Does anyone really believe that Tank is going to fight Matias? Last week he was fighting Ben, and next week he's fighting Wilder. I mean, was Tank and Matias, was that a rumor? Did I miss that? I haven't heard one thing about Tank fighting Matias. I think Matias is beatable. I was just on a Zoom with Gabe Rosado because I'm calling Amanda Serrano's fight next weekend on DAZN. Check it out, Saturday night. Gabe was calling the fight alongside Todd Grisham. And we were talking about Matias, and I was like, man, I think Matias is beatable. I think, Teofimo can beat Matias. And he was like, I don't know, man. That guy can punch. He makes dudes quit. Yeah, Muratalla is a dark horse at 135, Alex. He just needs a little more to get his name out there. I think Top Rank needs to really push him a lot more. He's damn good. It was Tim Bradley said that Muratalla could beat a lot of the 135 guys right now, some of the top guys. Interesting. What do you think about Haney versus Garcia and Barclays? Listen, man, I am very biased. I am from New York City. I live in Queens. This is a home game for me. I'm excited to go to Barclays. I'm excited to do a fight here in New York City. Barclays used to be a hub for boxing. Every other month, we were getting huge fights at Barclays. It's a great venue, number one. Number two, best fans. New York City fans are wild. So I think it's going to sell out. I think it's going to be a great gate. It's New York City, man. I see a lot of people criticizing, oh, I can't believe this fight's in New York. Two West Coast guys. This is New York City, guys. It's the media capital of the world. Sporting capital of the world. People will fly in for this fight. It'll be celebrities all over the damn place. This fight will do numbers. I don't know what the record is for Barclays Gate, but I think it will approach it. It's probably Gervonta versus Rolly. Interesting. I think it's awesome. I'm so happy that the fight's in New York. Switch it up a little bit. We're going to go Vegas every single time. I guarantee you the crowd in New York at Barclays is going to be louder than the crowd would have been in Vegas and way more lit. Haney already looks better fighting Ryan with no rehydration clause and catch weight. Yeah. Listen, this is the thing about negotiations. You ask for something, and all they can say is no. So Tank's team asked for a rehydration clause. This is fighting. You want to try to get every advantage you can get. And Ryan Garcia's team said yes. Why did they say yes? You can criticize Tank for asking for it, but if you have never been a part of negotiation, if you ask for things, you see what you can get. And Ryan Garcia's team, who's calling? Can't talk right now. I'm live. Can't talk. A few more questions. I love everyone in the chat. This is awesome. I love when there's breaking news and I'm able to hop on real quick and do this. Love how you take Benson's tweets, crop the name out, and put your own graphics. Wow. Is this Benson right here? Yeah, I take his thing and I put fucking quotes on it. Sue me. DraftKings Josh Taylor or Devin Haney getting kidney stones in their next weight cut? All right, question. These comments are getting weird. I honestly thought Ryan was going to beat Tank. Jackie, part of me did think. You think that Ryan, man, he's got power. He's got speed. And I'm not ready to just write him off completely against Haney. Like, Ryan has things you can't teach. The speed and that power. It's just how he sets up those power shots, how he sets up those hooks. It's how he can get to that point and consistently. And Haney has shown over his last two fights that he can really frustrate guys with his footwork. It's going to be real tough for Ryan Garcia to win that fight, but he has the great equalizer, the power. Does Ryan versus Haney sell more than Tank versus Frank? I don't know, man. Tank is an unbelievable ticket seller. He is in a class by himself. That fight night was crazy. I was there at Barclays. That shit was nuts. Ryan Garcia is a big name. Devin Haney is a big name. I don't know. I mean, they're both going to sell out. So it just comes down to the gate and how much they're going to charge for these tickets. But I think Tank can probably charge more for his fights. Do you think Ryan will lose star power if he loses to Tank and Haney back to back? I hope not, but unfortunately, in the time that we're in, and the sad truth is, he might be, especially if he gets knocked out, which depends on how he loses. If he gets knocked out by Haney, who's not a big puncher, or if he gets stopped, or if it's like another thing where he maybe could get up, then yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of questions about Ryan Garcia. If he goes 12 hard rounds with Haney, hurts Haney at times, I think Ryan's stock will shoot up because not many people aren't really giving him a chance, and they don't really think of him as an elite fighter. It depends on how he loses. If he loses 12-0 like Prograis did, that's going to be tough. But he's very popular. He's very young. I do think part of me thinks he is kind of cashing out a little bit. He knows his values right now, and he's going for the biggest fights. I mean, you can't knock a fighter for taking on the biggest challenges. That's all we ask for these guys. Should Wilder continue fighting? Like Chris says, his jab left when Breland did. Yep, good call. Wilder, it seems like he's going to get back in there, especially when the Saudi money is flowing, and I think they still want him to fight in Saudi Arabia, and he'd be crazy not to take that money. He deserves to take that money, but I don't know. I really don't. I can't get that performance for Joseph Parker out of my mind. That was such an abysmal performance, and his jab is gone. I don't see Haney knocking him out. Me neither. Jackie, I don't see that either. Craig, good coverage. Thanks. Thank you for joining. A few more questions here. Enjoy doing these lives. We're going to have a brand new episode of Inside Boxing Live Monday morning on YouTube here at Inside Boxing Live YouTube, right on Apple, iTunes. Me and Chris, give us a few days to kind of go over all this news and kind of make sense of it. I'm sure there'll be more news over the next couple of days, but for now, I wanted to hop on and just get my thoughts out there and talk to you, talk to the fans, see what you guys are thinking. Christopher wants to know, Dan, why can't we get CompuBox numbers on every fight? We have CompuBox numbers on every fight. Do you follow CompuBox on Twitter? Because we're always tweeting every fight. The networks all use us. Some use the stats more than others. But we will always put out the numbers after every fight. We'll have a report. So DM me or follow along on TV. See, that's out of our control. Like, we're hired by ESPN. We're hired by DAZN. We're hired by hopefully Amazon. We're hired by all the entities that are in the game right now, and it's up to them to display the stats. We're always pushing them to show more than just final punch stats, like put bumpers up, put the stats up midway through, put them up every round. I would love. But I know you've asked me that in the past. It's up to the networks. Ryan Shepard, with Tank fighting Martin and Haney fighting Garcia, do you think Shakur gets back in the ring for a big fight in 2024? What do you consider a big fight? Do you consider Shakur versus Emmanuel Navarrete at 135 a big fight? I think that's a pretty big fight. I could see that happening for Shakur. I think Shakur's next fight will be in June. I don't expect it to be against a huge name. I think he needs a win. I think he needs to look good, confidence booster, get these people off his back, then go for Navarrete. But the interesting thing with Shakur is that he's on the last fight of his top-ranked deal. So he said he wants to go into free agency. That changes everything. He signs with PBC. Then there's a slew of guys at 135 that he can fight. They have a sense of match room. He can fight Haney at 140 or whoever. Keep your eye on that when it comes to Mr. Shakur Stevenson. All right, everybody. Gonna enjoy this soda, this very healthy soda. Olipop. I wonder if they ever sponsor me. It's got, let's see, how much sugar is in this son of a gun? 2 grams of sugar. That's like nothing. It's got carbs. It's got 35 calories. Got no protein. But it's got prebiotics, which is good for your digestive health. It tastes pretty good. Like this is a classic root beer. Tastes like a root beer. Tastes like it tastes like a flat soda. Like it's not really fizzy. That's an annoying sound. I apologize for that. Take a few more questions, and I'll call it. Zach, Dan, I appreciate the time you took out tonight to talk to us. Love to see all your success. Bro, that means so much to me, Zach. We have a lot of plans. Some really big announcements are coming in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. Me and Algieri aren't going anywhere. I love doing the show. I love talking to the fans. I love meeting the fans. I love talking boxing. As you know, it is Thursday night, and I'm here with you. So thank you, Zach. Is it Algieri approved? I think Algieri would approve this. I have to ask him. He's always drinking weird drinks, Chris. He's always got his like smoothies, his green stuff, and his steaks. And I mean, he eats a lot of steak, and steak's not good for you. So who's he to judge? Do you think Tank will ever move up in weight? I think 140 is Tank's limit. Even though, if you heard these rumblings that he walks around at 160, he knocked down guys at 147 in sparring. I think he's pushing it, going above 140. What fight pays Navarrete more, Shakur or Zepeda? Probably Shakur. Shakur's a bigger name. Zepeda is so good. Zepeda versus Navarrete? Good God, that would be such a wild fight. That would just be chaos. It would be violence. It would be controlled violence. I kind of have to see that fight now that you mentioned it. Go enjoy a Factor meal with your drink. Is everyone using the Factor meal code that we have? I think it's Boxing 50. You get 50% off Factor meals. Good for Tank fighting that Frank fight. Yeah, man. I like this fight. And it kind of got sucked up in the Canelo news and sucked up in this Benavidez news. Tank versus Frank Martin. That's a great fight. I mean, obviously we want to see Tank in there with like Haney or Shakur, but I think you put Frank Martin in the top 7, right, at 135. I think Zepeda is probably better at 135 right now than Frank. But Frank Martin versus Tank Davis. I like that fight. If Haney Garcia outsells Tank Martin, do you see the winner fighting Tank next? I think if Haney wins, it's that fight versus Tank is really gonna come into focus because they're eliminating guys left and right that are potential opponents. So if Tank beats Frank Martin and he's already beat Ryan Garcia, then you got Haney who's beat Prograis and now he's beat Ryan Garcia. So we're like knocking off guys left and right. Eventually, there's only going to be 2 remaining, and that's probably Haney and Gervonta. and you got Teofimo, you got Shakur. So eventually these guys all got to fight each other. But I think the next fight we're building towards is Gervonta versus Devin Haney. Justice for Barroso. It's always justice for Barroso around here. This is a Ismael Barroso household. You think Demetrius Andrade's still a threat to Canelo? No. Are you Demetrius Andrade, Ronald? No disrespect to Demetrius Andrade, but he's done. I mean, he gave it his all. What's a more winnable for Navarrete? Shakur or Zepeda? Shakur is so hard to beat, man. He may not have the greatest style for us to watch, but he still wins. He still wins rounds. He's really hard to beat, Shakur. It's not a fan-friendly style. And I think he needs to actually make a lot of adjustments because you can't just go in there and not get hit for 12 rounds and expect people to want to buy your fights and come to your fights. But, man, is he hard to beat, Shakur. Where does Teofimo go next? And will he learn to cut off the ring? Good question. That dude needs to learn how to cut off the ring. He needs to stay away from southpaws and needs to stay away from movers, Teofimo. I don't know what Teofimo goes next. Don't know. I think he should fight Matias. I think he could beat Matias. Teofimo Matias at MSG this June. Wow, now we're talking. Who's Ryan's new teammate? Yeah, Ryan Garcia teased a teammate. He said he's showing up Tuesday at New York City press conference with a teammate. I will be there. So follow along on Inside Boxing Live Instagram, follow along on my Twitter. I'll be at that press conference asking all sorts of weird questions. Any word on Ismael Barroso's fighting? Yeah. Barroso got shafted. He got the shaft. He had justice. He won that fight against Davies. And then they pushed him out of the way so Rolly could fight Pitbull. But tell you what, Barroso, he ain't going quiet into the night. That guy, 41 years old, maybe, could be 60. I'm getting a little dizzy, so I'm gonna end this stream. Thank you everyone for joining on short notice. I will do a lot more of these. I'm actually thinking about setting up a weekly live chat. Do it the same time every week. But I always hop on when there's breaking news, and I felt like this was a time to do it. Whenever there's news involving Tank Davis and Canelo Alvarez at the same time, you want to hop on and talk about it with some of the faithful out there. So I thank you, everyone, for joining. Look for a new podcast Monday morning, Inside Boxing Live YouTube, Inside Boxing Live, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, me and Chris Algieri back in the saddle on Sunday, talking boxing. I'm going to go drink this soda and lay on my couch. Good night, everybody. Hope you have a good one.